To me, I'm tired of whether they're a Democrat or a Republican. So many of my friends, like my Jewish friend I talked to today, I don't know what he is. I don't know. I didn't ask, and I don't care, because I wasn't looking to find common ground because he's a registered Republican. I could care less. The Republicans are just as dangerous as the Democrats, maybe more so, because the Democrats will tell you up front what they want. The Republicans will tell you what you want to hear and then run in lockstep with the Democrats. But my friend and I never got into political party. What we got into, where we agreed, is the need to defend religious freedom and liberty and protect each other, the Saturday people and the Sunday people. Take care.
Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service to this nation. Having worked his way up from the enlisted ranks to full colonel, he served our country for more than 32 years. He has served as a bomber squadron commander, bomb disposal technician, Joint Chiefs of Staff Operations Officer, assisted the National Security Team with the campaign plan for the global war on terrorism. He authored the first theater nuclear war plan and served as the Vice Commander of America's largest airborne intelligence wing. Colonel Rob Maness is a true American hero. This is Rob Maness Live.
More and more people around the world are asking for the same thing. They want a president like Javier Milei. For decades, the establishment convinced us that decline was inevitable. They told us that we had to settle for the injustice of social justice. But Javier Milei is the outsider who arrived to shatter the status quo. He came to change the way politics is done forever. The phenomenon is unstoppable. He chose not to wear masks and to always move forward with the truth. He chose the uncomfortable truth over the comfortable lie. He accepted the price of being attacked, knowing the ancient rule that no one is more hated than the man who speaks the truth that no one wants to hear. People no longer want politicians who follow focus groups. They want someone convinced of their ideas, someone with the courage to do what must be done, paying the price of having an entire system against him. Data killed the narrative. This is not just Argentine politics. It is proof that a nation can rise from the ashes when it dares to be free. Long live freedom, damn it.
Make Argentina great again. Viva la libertad, carajo!
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. We're live on Worldview Tube and our X Spaces simulcast. Well, friends, the winds of liberty are blowing fiercely again, especially in the Americas. Americans chose Donald Trump and his brand of populism for a second time, and in countries like Argentina, citizens demanded leadership from this man, Javier Milei, to bring them back to freedom and prosperity. Milei is not just liberty-minded. He is as pure of a libertarian as we've seen elected in modern times, but different. What is that difference? He loves his country and its people with all of his heart, but he hates the country's government. He believes in creative destruction. And instead of talking the talk of libertarian principle, a problem with America's Libertarian Party that leads to electoral defeat time after time, Milei acts on his devotion to liberty, and the people of Argentina support it, forcing their government to change. And it works. As a liberty-minded Republican, I'm excited to see this libertarian nationalism, and even more so, to see that a leader and thinker about liberty here in America has put a marker down to reestablish the movement here. Yes, I said reestablish it, because this is where Western liberty was born, out of our American Revolution, and we should be touting that and respecting it and acting like it. My guest today is that leader, Austin Peterson, the author of the Libertarian Nationalism Manifesto, which he presented to the Libertarian Party National Convention late last year, launching this new movement. Peterson is a former presidential candidate. He's a pundit, entrepreneur, founder of the For Liberty Network, and host of the Wake Up America show. Austin, welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. I'm very excited to have you.
What an awesome intro. Boy, you said it all, Rob. God bless America and God bless you and your audience and Javier Milei and all of the hundreds and thousands of people who I've spoken to just in the last 30 days. I've had so many conversations with people. And this is just lighting up like fire, just brush fires all across the country. People are talking to me on the phone. They're calling me. They're tuning into the show and they're asking, what does this mean? And of course, I think Albert Einstein said great minds have always been met with violent responses from mediocrity, because there are a lot of people telling me I can't be a libertarian nationalist. Well, what do you mean? I thought we were. Why are libertarians? Why am I as a libertarian? Because you know what it is, and Rob, I think this is really the heart of it. Is that the problem with libertarians in the United States is they don't believe they can win. And so they can't win. Underlying Javier Milei is a confidence, a relentless confidence, because if you believe you can change the world, you can. The only people who think that who can't change the world are the ones who don't think they can. The people who change the world are always the people that think they can, that know they can. And Javier Milei's confidence, we need to bring that here. We need to import that. I hope we don't have any tariffs on that. Let's just, hopefully we'll have international free trade of confidence between libertarians, what we're capable of and what can be done. Because honestly, we ought to be embarrassed, Rob. We ought to be deeply embarrassed as people who love liberty. First of our forefathers would be pissed if they saw the legacy that we squandered. And now, no more excuses. Javier Milei is the president of the 8th largest country in the world. Is everything like the United States the same as it is in Argentina? Of course not. But there are important underlying factors that are contribute to Javier Milei's success, and I plan on finding out what it is and bringing it here.
Yeah, how far have you dug into that? Because that's the exact question that I have in my mind is how much of his success that he's accomplished there, both with getting elected and governing, which I think has been exemplary in both of those categories. How much of that translates to the United States of America as it exists today?
Well, it's a fair question. And I mean, unfortunately, one of the things that makes me most jealous is that Javier Milei is himself an intellectual. So you're not kind of hoping for a politician where you kind of have to filter these ideas, where you kind of, as a grassroots, have to, through people power, find representatives. Milei very much is, to some extent, a moonshot in that he's an actual economist. So you're not trying to find, somebody who is unfamiliar with the deep lore of liberty, as people like yourself and myself are. We're like the J.R.R. Tolkiens. We're reading the extended versions. We're watching the 4-hour Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings. We're deeply literate. He's literate. So we do struggle with that in the United States. And part of that is because, Rob, we've been so distracted by our enemies and the propaganda. I think American libertarians are uniquely susceptible to brain jamming and to brainwashing, because we're so skeptical, so much so that we actually become, if Lindsey Graham says it must be false, right? So we face some problems with critical errors in our critical thinking in the United States. So translating, Javier Milei's Libertad Avanza success to the United States is a difficult task, but I do think I've nailed down, certain key facts that we can say, compare. Yes, this will translate. Yes, this makes sense. Because honestly, they really are. I mean, even though they are a third world to some extent, they share a lot of similarities with the United States in their culture being European. There was a lot of immigration from Europe into Argentina. It has a strong Italian flair to it, right? It's something very unique. And it used to compete with the United States. In the early 1900s, Argentina and the United States were about parity on economy. And they let the fascist socialists, Perón, Juan and Evita Perón, and Kirchnerists over the decades, destroy Argentine liberty. But they're the verge of a comeback, and they're not the only ones, Rob. We're tracking Chile. We're tracking movements in Chile. We're tracking Venezuela. Cuba could fall any day right now. There's the I feel like I'm pulling my hair out. I talk to libertarians. I'm like, look at all these low-hanging fruit in front of us. Victories are ready to be had for the cause of liberty. And here in the United States, if we can just recognize them and just go out and start picking them up, find people to go out and pick it up, Rob, pick it up.
Yeah.
Let's win.
And Austin, exactly. Let's win. And your message is not to the Libertarian Party per se. It's to Liberty Americans like me. I'm a Republican. I've never been in the Libertarian Party at all. I've been tried to be recruited to run as a libertarian, but I've never done it because I consider myself not part of that group that just weighs in on principle, loses every election, and all that. And that's why I'm a Liberty Republican.
I've lost some elections, Rob.
Hey, I've lost some elections too as a Republican, but
been there.
The winning side is whoever picks this banner up and runs with it. I shouldn't say side. The winning group of Americans, if we will repick this banner up and run with it like Thomas Jefferson and George Washington and Alexander Hamilton and James Madison and John Adams and John Quincy Adams and all of those men, if we will pick it up and run with it, we will win, and it will win every single time because it defeats these bad ideas in both political parties that exist in both political parties if we will have the courage to pick up the banner.
Rob, I don't know if I'm a patriot. I strive to be. I hope to be. But one thing I know is true is that I do have patriot blood in my veins. I have been doing some genealogical research lately, and last year I joined the fraternal organization called the Sons of the American Revolution. And I've been volunteering with them, trying to, support and build the organization. I found out the legacy of the people that came to the United States since going back to the 1600s. And honestly, I was deeply humbled and kind of ashamed because they had racked up, they had risked their lives, their fortunes, their sacred honors. One of my ancestors, the Battle of Brandywine, Germantown, gets captured in South Carolina, paroled by the British, says, don't go back and fight. And he goes back and fights anyway, and he's there at the Battle of Yorktown, the final battle of the American Revolution. So I think I understand, at least from what I understand of their sacrifice. I've read enough about what they wanted to think that, that they did leave it for us. They planted seeds for us, and they left these things for us. And I don't know if I'll live up to the Battle of Brandywine or Germantown. I don't know if I'll be that great of an American. Maybe I won't. But I'm sure as hell going to try. I'm going to try to make them proud by harnessing the spirit of American nationalism and combine it with the cause for liberty. All of the founding fathers, they disagreed with each other on things. They had different views of liberty, like you and I disagree with FDR. His definition of freedom is a chicken in every pot. Ours is freedom from tyranny and oppression. But they built a country that was the greatest country in the world through an understanding of a lens of a couple of important documents. You might have heard of them, right? And then we can use those lenses to look at today while recognizing that, George Washington might have had some interesting opinions on nuclear weapons, but we just don't know. So we have to do our best today. They would have had, who knows? But Rob, libertarian nationalism, I think it's the right combo. It confuses all of the right people, and it excites all the other right people. It angers all the right people.
But interesting that you say that, because when I first saw the words and I saw it was coming from you, I'm like, oh, wonder what Republican Austin Peterson is up to. And then I started reading it, and it excited me immediately. So it has to be angering the squishes, is what I call them on both sides of the aisle.
It angers the squishes, but here's the thing: I'm sick of alienating my fellow Americans who I agree with more than 80% on things. I have some deep, sincere criticisms of American conservatism, and that comes from my libertarian side, right? Its tendency towards authoritarianism in some ways, right? And it's lackadaisical fight against communism. I think Trump won in large part because he wasn't conservative, because conservatives have just been conserving what progressives believed 20 years ago. So that's a very harsh criticism of American conservatism. But I think Trump shows that that's how the Republican Party felt. And we elected Trump as MAGA, not as a conservative per se, but as a populist right winger, because he's the chemotherapy to a very sick system, to a very sick republic, that if we don't do this, if we don't fight for a libertarian nation, if we don't fight for what truly makes America great, what truly makes America exceptional, then we're going to lose it all. And I don't plan on just giving ground to violent, tyrannical, Che Guevara t-shirt wearing, capitalist hating, latte drinking, effete leftist, genderqueer Marxist, Rob. I don't plan on surrendering my country to those people.
I can't even remember that whole list all at once. I'm glad that I have you around to be able to rattle it off.
I
appreciate
on
that, man.
I could have gone
and our ancestors, I have an ancestor that was one of 5 men to walk out of his Scotch-Irish county, one of only 5 to join the Continental Army back in 1775.
Hell yes.
Myself,
Patriots.
They believed what is in your manifesto and in this new movement, and I want to dive into the details of what it is and what it isn't in the next segment, Austin. We'll be right back with Austin Peterson.
Well, the first thing we have to understand is that the state is not the solution. The state is the problem. If you look here, you have the massive mess that is the state, the great racket, and the source of Argentine decadence, which is the state. This is the picture of the state we have today. If we move over to that board, Ministry of Tourism and Sports, out. Ministry of Culture, out. Ministry of Environment and Sustainable Development, out. Ministry of Women, Genders and Diversity, out. Ministry of Public Works, out. Even if you resist. Let's continue over here. Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation. Something for the private sector. Nothing good ever came from the public sector. Out. Ministry of Labor, Employment and Social Security, out. Ministry of Education, Indoctrination, out. Ministry of Transport, out. Ministry of Health, out. Ministry of Social Development, out. How does the state look at this situation, and what is its perspective on the matter? Ministry of Human Capital, Ministry of Infrastructure, Ministry of Economy, Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Security, Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and Ministry of the Interior. The political racket is finally over now.
Viva la libertad, carajo!
It's over. The political racket is over under Javier Milei's Argentina government. He came in like a wrecking ball. That's what I call that video clip there. And my guest today is Austin Peterson, former presidential candidate, a leading thinker on liberty in the United States of America. And he has published the Liberty Nationalism Manifesto and launched a movement, a formal movement called Liberty libertarian nationalism late last year, and he's with me today. I love that clip, and I should, Austin, and I should tell people these clips of Javier in English come from an X account called Malay in English, I believe it is. Go check it out. Just search his name in English on X, and you'll find the account. They're great. So my question is, as we dive deeper and think about what he was just doing there to the government of Argentina, what is the libertarian nationalism and what is it not? Do it. You lay it out very well in your manifesto.
Thank you very much, Rob, and I appreciate this 2 back-to-back segments. You're a great American. Thank you for sharing your time and your audience with me. So libertarian nationalism is the idea that liberty is at the center of the American experiment, that if you don't believe in liberty, you're probably not an American. Statue of Liberty, liberty has got to be at the center of whatever it is. If you're an immigrant and you manage to become an American citizen, you're coming here because of liberty. So we put liberty at the core of American life. However, it's like somebody said it to me earlier. It's like drinking tea without a teacup. Liberty is the tea, but what is the cup? The nation is the cup. And that isn't to say necessarily this government as it is currently stated or formulated, but the concept of a nation itself. If you're not an anarchist and you do believe in the concept of a nation state, then a nation state has borders. It has defined geographical areas. This is what every conflict from beginning of civilization, tends to be about, is about the lines of that nation and where it exists. Some nations have grown, some have expanded. Nations that don't expand tend to shrink, right? You tend to either go one way or another. And so nationalism, my libertarian nationalism, takes the principles of Javier Milei, that is a winning form of libertarianism. Mileism is sort of tactics and messaging and strategy, whereas my American libertarian nationalism takes the tactics and strategy and welds onto it a fiercely devoted to the American experiment and American ideals, my form of libertarianism, such that, there's been a sort of, I think I'd call it embrace of nihilism, especially among young people today, and even on the right. It's actually, I think, especially bad on the right. I think, the left is lost to many other demons, nihilism being one of them. But with the nihilism on the right, there's again a lack of fundamental belief that America things can change for the better. That's why you'll see some Republicans, some people are attacking Trump who are like, oh well, I'm a former Trump supporter, I support him beginning. Well, it's because they've gone black-pilled. They're nihilists. They don't believe in that we can win, so they actually cheer for us to lose. Many libertarians cheer for us to lose for the same reason. They think, they're so demoralized, Rob. They're so demoralized that they think that they actually believe America is the oppressor, that America is the bad guy, that they take that many people, even on the right, have started to adopt a view of the United States and Israel, but we can get to that in a moment. Adopt the United States as if the United States is the oppressor. In other words, some are adopting a woke, critical theory version of American histories. So while they aren't the type of people on the left who believe in critical theory who would tear down statues, nonetheless, they commit what I call a cultural vandalism of the culture of the United States. And they say things like Winston Churchill was the great villain of World War II. We hear that from some on the right now. That Hitler had a few good points, and that if Hitler had won, that we wouldn't have drag queen story hours. Well, that's nihilism. That's the nihilism talking. Those are the people who don't really believe in anything. They just want to see us fail. If you believe that the United States was wrong in World War II, if you wanted us to fail in World War II, I'm sorry, you're not on our side. You can't really be an American and believe that the United States should have suffered subjugation at the hands of theocratic imperial Japanese or what Luciferian / pagan Nazi homos dressed up in leather to the nines and having Knights of the Round Table gay weird sex at Wewelsburg Castle during World War II. Is that what America first means? I don't think so. It's not Sig Heil, and it's not Sig gender queer mark. It's not Sig Che Guevara. You know, Americanism is a unique individualist philosophy. What makes America exceptional and what makes American nationalism different from German nationalism or different from even Argentine nationalism is the intrinsic nature of liberty to the American experiment. And so that's why I'm a libertarian nationalist. So libertarian nationalism is pro-liberty, pro-America. That's it. Pro-liberty, pro-America. How's that?
Yeah. I mean, those are the things that I think about when I think about the founders and the people that brought us this country, at least all the way up through the war between the states in the 1860s, before this very far turn to progressivism, what I would call progressive
right, Johnny.
liberalism.
We'll have a Lincoln debate here soon enough, Rob. Johnny Reb.
No, we don't want to have a Lincoln debate, because I think the people that chose the secession thing wouldn't have chose the secession thing had this banner been more successfully carried throughout the country's history. Well, quite honestly, I don't think they would have ever made that choice.
Rob, I don't want to have a Lincoln debate because I don't want any more conservative Republicans getting shot. Okay.
We're laughing about it, but that's a serious comment, Austin. We don't want that. There's no need for that.
So fight.
Yeah, if we have libertarian nationalism and we can get more people to look at this and understand it, that becomes so unnecessary to even think about that the future becomes positive. And that's why I think you're on the right track, man. You're on the right track. That's why I wanted to get you on. So
can I ask a favor, Rob?
Sure.
Would you allow me to just ask your audience, if anybody who hears this and is stirred and can hear the bald eagles screaming in the background and is ready to get involved, please just reach out to me personally and directly. I will hop on the phone with anybody, any patriot who wants to talk about American freedom. Just hop on the phone with me and send me a DM and say, Austin, I want to talk about libertarian nationalism. I'll answer any questions anybody has. They can DM me on my X account at AP4Liberty or reach out through the website that they pull up for me. Thank you for that opportunity. So I am committed. I'll spend all year, if I have to, building this army. And all I need is 800 people. You'd be surprised at how small a group you need in order to really affect change in this country, Rob. But if I can find 800 people to sign up to be Peterson's Patriots with me, and if I find 800 people who are doing that, I will go from a cult movement to mainstream movement. Just 800 people can affect huge change, even in a country as big as the United States.
You should have 8,000 because this is not a cult movement. This is actually the middle of the stream for Americans. That's what's different about our country, is that this concept. I mean, I'm going to read this list off, and I'm not going to say the name of this, but it stands for order, prosperity, family, merit, and the nation. Yeah. If you read that list off to a conservative Republican, that's what they believe in.
Yeah.
If you read that list off to a center-left Democrat, that what we used to call a blue dog Democrat, that's really what they believe in.
To some extent, right? But not people who don't believe in civilization, or maybe people who reject the idea of a social concept entirely, right? Mm-hmm. If you're an anarchist, for example, you believe in no government, then you'll make the argument that this is a form of statism that I'm advocating for, which I do not deny. But it's important to acknowledge that. I want to be honest with them. I'm closer to an anarchist than I am a Nazi or a communist, right? But I believe in a limited government, small enough to drown in a bathtub, as Grover Norquist says. But the concept of libertarian nationalism is it's not just about the philosophy, but it's also about the tactics to defend the liberty. It's about how we can regift. And most people don't like regifting, but if I can regift the legacy that my founding father ancestor, my patriot ancestor gave, if I can re-gift that freedom to my kids, because I have a future. When we talk about family, we're talking about the future. My child is my future. I'm thinking about my grandchildren and my children. I'm going to try and plant seeds that will grow into liberty trees, and under whose shade I will not sit, but my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, and I'm pledging my life, my fortune, my sacred honor. I'm staking it all on this whole enterprise, Rob. I've burned my boats, and I'm sailing for the coast, and I'm going to invade, and I'm going to make these ideas win by hook or by crook. It'll break me, or I'll win.
Well, you have a lot of support already. I mean, you describe my worldview when I read the document. That's why I call myself a liberty Republican, because when I think about my ancestor in the past and why he did what he did to join the Continental Army, those were the messages he was responding to, from the liberty messages from their pulpits, from the people like Thomas Paine, from the Continental Congress, and all of their leaders down to the level on the ground in the community. Were talking about this subject. And if you can't sign up to libertarian nationalism, that's what the things I read off is what Austin put in his manifesto. It said, this is what libertarian nationalism stands for: order, prosperity, family, merit, and nation. That is what I have run for office on over and over again. And so have you, really. And that should and will be and is really the winning ideas for America. And we're different. Now, I got to take another break. Will you stay with me for a little while longer? Because this is an important subject.
Happy to do it.
All right. We'll be right back.
What if millions around the world could access Bible teaching and worldview training for free right now without hitting a paywall? That's exactly what happens every day at worldviewtube.com because of the Worldview Weekend Foundation. We don't lock our live stream behind PayPal. We don't restrict our content to members only. Instead, the Worldview Weekend Foundation helps cover the cost of delivering free educational and ministry programming to people across the nation and around the world. And it's not just programming. My Sunday night church service, where I taught verse by verse through Revelation for 18 months, and now I am teaching through the book of Daniel, is made possible through the support of our church, Worldview Weekend Foundation. If you believe this kind of truth-centered biblical teaching must continue, donate today. Go now to worldviewfoundation.com. You'll also find our mailing address and phone number there if you'd rather give by phone or mail. That's worldviewfoundation.com. Thank you.
For some time now, and for some strange reason, the West began to turn its back on the ideas of liberty. That is why in this same place in 2024, I stated that the West was in danger as a result of having embraced increasing doses of socialism in its most hypocritical form, which is wokeism. In turn, in 2025, I explained the mental parasites sown by the left in humanity. However, 2026 is the year in which I bring you good news. The world has begun to awaken. The best proof of this is what is happening in the Americas with the rebirth of the ideas of liberty. Therefore, the Americas will be the beacon of light that will once again illuminate the entire West, thereby repaying the civilizational debt with expressions of gratitude towards the foundations in Greek philosophy, Roman law, and Judeo-Christian values. We have a better future ahead, but that better future exists only if we return to the roots of the West, which means returning through the ideas of liberty. May God bless the West. May the forces of heaven be with us. And long live freedom, damn it. Thank you very much.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. We're live on Worldview Tube and our X Spaces simulcast. And folks, we are having some technical difficulty with our video stream on X for some reason. The last couple of days, it's still not working. You can go find it on Rumble, on my webpage at robmaness.com, on the YouTube channels too. Just search the Rob Maness Show and you'll find it if you want to watch the video live. And of course, our audio simulcast space is running and with a live audience here. My guest today is Austin Peterson. We're talking about libertarian nationalism and how he laid out what it is and what it is not based on Mr. Milei. That was a Truth Social post shared by President Donald Trump that you just heard there, Milei talking over at the globalist party over there back in January of this year. And that's why that's important. And Austin Peterson's my guest today, the man that wrote the Manifesto on Libertarian Nationalism and has launched a formal movement now to bring America back to the banner of liberty. That, you know, when I fly an extra flag on my flagpole that's holding my 5-foot by 8-foot Betsy Ross flag right now in honor of the 250th birthday of the Declaration of Independence, I fly a Gadsden flag, or I fly an Appeal to Heaven flag, because those are flags of liberty. They are the banners of liberty, literally, or join or die. I managed to get my hands on one of those too, flag. That's what I fly. And Austin Peterson lays out in this document that you can find at the, let me get the website right. It's the 4 Liberty Network. At the website, you can find it and read it because it's very important. And Austin, welcome back. I love that. I love that Trump shared that, but I love the words that Milei was saying on that post more than anything I have heard in my lifetime from an elected government official anywhere in the world. That was amazing, and he's exactly right. And you lay out a libertarian nationalist code in the manifesto, and we won't go through it all, but the very first one is liberty rooted in moral strength, not indulgement, followed by a nation bound by shared ideals, not tribal division. That's what Milei was just talking about.
Exactly.
You have a nation state that has a government. You have to acknowledge that, and the love of that nation follows that you want that government to do the best that it's supposed to do, which is govern in the right things.
Exactly. I want the government to be limited to certain roles that it is supposed to do. I mean, if most of the people out there who are intellectuals in modern public life probably are not smarter than Milton Friedman was. And he really narrowed it down and said, you know, I'm in favor of a limited government, and it's important to do things like enforce contracts. It's important to do things like have a military and a national security and a national defense. Don't let that national defense crowd out all of the every aspect of life, right? There's more to life than just your security. Everybody needs a guard dog, but it's not a doghouse we all live in, right? To some extent, the culture of the citizens of the United States, the free experimentation of the people of the United States is to embrace what is the highest and best order of use of human time. Now, I don't want a peaceful life necessarily. I've chosen a life of battle. You have chosen a professional life of battle. And thank you for your service, Colonel. But most people, they're not really cut out for this. They're not really cut out for the front lines. They're not all political activists or things like that. And we still have to safeguard the liberties of the people, Rob, who are just out there doing whatever they can for their life, living an American lifestyle that has nothing to do with necessarily body politic, other than they're just, you know, they don't even know that they've got, you know, people like us out there, you know, acting like guard dogs for their freedoms. And their rights and liberties matter too. So how do we protect them, and how do we ensure that we're growing a civilization? Because libertarian nationalism is about a game of civilization. So when you think about it, this is where, like, you know, people accuse you of being collectivist, for example, but it's a voluntary collectivism, because what I like to say is that civilization is a team sport. And so you need to be able to have a culture and a civilization that can work with others, that can build and grow and work with all of the disparate, like even sometimes contradictory or conflicting issues that may arise within our American Republic. And then, of course, externally, right? How do we deal with threats like China? How do we deal with threats like Russia? How do we deal with North Korea? Or how do we deal with the Mexican problem of this third world country on our border sending millions of people up through South of America? So these kinds of questions, these are questions for government. These are questions the government solve. Not everything is solved by market. Not everything is a transaction. Not everything is for sale, right? Which is not to say that we shouldn't even consider privatizing a lot of the things or even testing privatization of things that some people think is government. I'm willing to experiment. But the experimentation, think about this of the United States compared to North Korea. You can't be Amish in North Korea. You can't not pay income tax. Right? America has developed a sort of a cloak of culture for cultures. Some of those cultures, like the Amish, which are to some extent alien to the normal American life or the body politic to some extent, some of those that exist are non-hostile to American interests. Right. Some of these cultures, which are countercultures, Rob, are hostile or acidic to American civic life. And how do we determine that? Well, we determine what are the civic virtues of whatever institution or culture it is that exists in American life. And a libertarian nationalist is going to go through and analyze each of those things in a micro way. But in a macro way, just like how the Constitution is kind of the spirit of the law and the code is the letter of the law, the concepts that I've laid out here in libertarian nationalism are broad stroke ideas, just like, the concept of all men are created equal. And from there, we can decide how do we sort of legislate, adjudicate, deregulate, regulate, whatever it is that we do as a society. If we can sort of like gather around together a set of virtues, or if a committed group of patriots behind these ideas of libertarian nationalism, if we can get behind these, I think there was a Patton quote, you know this better than I would, but he said something about like a good plan violently executed today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. Sometimes, we probably have to kind of just get on with it to some extent. People who want to restore the American Republic and restore it on the values of the founders, we better just kind of say, well, it's not a perfect plan, but if we're all moving in the same direction, then we're going to accomplish more than breaking up into groups. Because after the Tea Party years, the right was largely decimated, and then Trump took over and made it MAGA. Once Trump is gone, we have a new opportunity, because Trump is MAGA. It's not, whatever he says is not MAGA, and so when he's gone, then is MAGA really MAGA anymore to some extent, because he sort of owns it. I think he'll try to transfer it to JD, and maybe that'll work, maybe it won't. I'm not sure. Hope it does if he's the candidate. But in every crisis is an opportunity, as the left likes to say. And in this coming election cycle, and the next election cycle, as the new Republican candidate takes over, is a chance. It's a chance for people like you, people like me, to have a voice in ways that we never had. Because if we're like Javier Milei and we get along with Donald Trump instead of some others who are just constantly burning him down, then maybe we can get a voice. Remember when Trump said he would have a libertarian in his cabinet and it didn't happen?
Right. That's right.
You know what? That's our fault. That's not his fault. They want to blame him. But you, Rob, and maybe I could pick 4 or 5 other people, you and maybe 4 or 5 other people in this country that could actually pass a confirmation hearing to get across the finish line, right? I know you were never like a Libertarian Party guy or anything like that, but I'm always thinking of mostly of the ideas and not of the, the party. Yeah. But that's on us. We have a very, very weak bench. So I'm building the bench, and that's what I'm doing. I'm searching for talent. Think of me as, Simon Cowell of libertarianism.
I love it. And one of the interesting things you write about and have spoken about is we don't reject Donald Trump's populism or MAGA.
Right.
We embrace it, actually. And there's a and the reason I used that clip at the beginning is because it's Trump and Melee together, and you write about that them combined, their ideas combined and their philosophies combined really are what become libertarian nationalism, because MAGA is on the patriotism, love of country side. Although I personally think Donald Trump's got some liberty streaks in him that we see on occasion.
I think he stumbles into it more than he deliberately does it. But that's actually, I think there's a lesson there, because you know what it means? It means that his enemies are our enemies. It means that the enemies of liberty, who are the dedicated, know exactly what we're talking. The progressives, can you imagine what it must have felt like being inside the room of some of these lefty think tanks when, was it a couple of days ago that Trump eliminated a rule for the EPA that had declared carbon as like harmful, and it's like $1 trillion regulation. It's like I think that I think one of our secretaries, and I'm sorry, I can't remember his name for the life of me, but had said this is the largest deregulation in American history. $1 trillion regulation overturned by Trump. And do I think that he thinks that global warming is a hoax and a scam? Yes. Do I think do I agree with him? Yes. Is he right about that? Absolutely. So there's one of those things where he's deliberately right. He knows what he's doing. He's making the right decision. But like nominating Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court, I think that, he might have accidented that one, because Mitch McConnell gave him a list of good names. And Justice Gorsuch is like the most libertarian Supreme Court justice perhaps ever. Right? Ever. I think Trump, I think Trump probably didn't know. I don't think Trump thinks about things like, I don't know, theories of the court. And I think he just went with his instincts on that one. And so he kind of, we all got lucky. He had good instincts. So good instincts can be hey, it's better than being good, being lucky. I'll take being lucky better every time. Every time,
man.
Every time.
Well, we got to take a break.
I'm a karate instructor, and I fight like the white belts. I'm a like black belt 20 years. But every once in a while, you get whopped by the lower belts because they don't know what they're doing. So they just haul off and smack you.
Same thing happens to our armed forces. Our American Air Force got its butt kicked by the Indian Air Force years ago in an air-to-air combat exercise, and they weren't expecting it. Happens all the time. Well, we got to take a break. When we come back, I want to dive into the national security aspect of this, Austin, because when people hear the term libertarian, even if it's combined with nationalism, you start getting a lot of hand-wringing and woes me's and uh-ohs. There they go again, and that's not at all what this is. We'll be right back with Austin Peterson.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Would you like to gain access to over 20 years of my radio shows, TV shows, my books? I've written 15 books, and most of those books are ebooks now. And we have conference DVDs, conferences where we filmed our conferences at the Ozarks, literally starting 20 years ago. It's all available in our archived vault. All you have to do is go to worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, and for a reasonable monthly fee, you gain access to over 20 years of Christian worldview programming, news, information, books, documentaries, and a powerful search engine. And folks, it's a great way not only to educate yourself, equip yourself, but it's a big way that you can help fund our continuation as a broadcast network. Please check it out. worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, and help us continue pushing out a Christian worldview.
And the great anvil that appears as a common denominator in the countries and institutions that are failing is the mental virus of woke ideology. This is the great epidemic of our time that must be cured. It is the cancer that must be excised. This ideology has colonized the world's most important institutions, from the parties and states of the free countries of the West to global governance organizations, including non-governmental institutions, universities, and the media, as it has also shaped the course of the global conversation over the last few decades. Until we remove this aberrant ideology from our culture, our institutions, and our laws, Western civilization and even the human species will not succeed in returning to the path of progress that our pioneering spirit demands.
Come back to the Rob Maness Show. Wow, it's been a great Wednesday so far. We're live on World YouTube and our X Spaces simulcast and all the other channels, apparently, except for X. But we are live on our audio space there under Shell Shocked. She is running that. Then the live audience is up and active today. My guest is Austin Peterson, who says that guy, Javier Milei, has the answer. And the answer is libertarian nationalism. Which is really the answer that the men that wrote things like the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States, that's the answer they came to also before there were these political parties and things like socialism and Nazism and communism and today's progressivism. Progressivism doesn't mean the same thing throughout our history, especially the history of the United States. So be careful with that term. But those other isms that I just pointed out, they do always mean the same thing, and they are antithetical to America, which is a libertarian nationalism concept, is what I believe. And Austin Peterson's back with us today, and we're talking about his libertarian nationalism manifesto and the launch of this new movement in America here, based on what we're seeing from America today under the Trump administration, the Milei administration, in Argentina, and all of these wells of liberty that are springing up and winds that are blowing more fiercely now than I've seen them in my entire lifetime. Austin, what does libertarian nationalism say about foreign policy, national defense, and does that include our immigration policy as part of national security?
I would say so. I think, every libertarian who is a libertarian nationalist recognizes that it is a job of the government to protect America from foreign invaders who wish to come here and not only commit acts of force against American citizens, which many of them do, but also commit fraud, as we see in Minnesota. It is a perfectly legal, perfectly moral, perfectly constitutional thing to do, in theory, to go into Minnesota, to go and find into these Somali communities, find the fraudsters, find the scammers, get them the hell out of our country and get them off the taxpayer dime. And if that involves clapping Tim Walz and irons, you'd love to see it. And maybe Jacob Frey on top, and let's find out how Ilhan Omar's winery in California went from broke, $25,000 to start, to a multi-million dollar winery with they don't sell wine on their website.
No product.
I looked it up. There's no product. Yeah, we're going to go after the fraud and we're going to find the fraudsters. And if you lied on your immigration application, by the way, you're going to get deported too. I don't care if you're a congressman. I don't care if you're Gene Wu from Texas and you were born in China and you came to the United States and you lied on your application form and you're saying you're going to create some kind of racial revolution and stirring up race riots and against American ideals and interests and principles of liberty. You're gone. You're out. Get out.
That's great.
Yeah. If you don't believe in liberty, you lied. Get out. Get out. So anyways, and to be fair and to be honest, a lot of good immigrants do come to the United States. Elon Musk is a gall darn American hero. He's the Edison of our time. You need to be able to get your Albert Einsteins. I mean, Elon Musk isn't taking any jobs from anyone. He's creating jobs. So that's a different story. But we are able to have those conversations. We got to stop being when people call you a racist, because they will, you're just going to have to say, okay, next insult. Do you have an argument? Right? You not freak out and not, we also need to get rid of the tyranny of HR departments in our corporations. But we could talk about that a little later. From a national security perspective, from a national defense, not just related to border security, I have been what I call non-interventionist in the past, and I will say I think I was wrong, and I think I've changed my mind. I've changed my mind on some things, and I've changed my mind because they aren't going to leave us alone. The people who want to be be left alone will always lose to the people who don't want to be left alone.
Yeah.
So the people who want to be left alone have to fight to be left alone. Unfortunately, I wish that I could just live in peace. It's like, what did General James Mattis say? I think he said, I come in peace. I didn't bring artillery, but I'm begging you with tears in my eyes. If you mess with me, I will kill you all.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
don't tread on me. Gadsden flag. The snake has teeth, right? If you're a toothless, you know what they call a toothless snake? A worm. And I'm not a worm. So you have to have a foreign policy that deals with the realism, that deals with the real world as it actually lies. And you know who's a really good person that we need to probably rehabilitate? Richard Nixon. Funnily enough, we allowed the left to completely destroy his legacy, to make him a punchline, and to write him out of the history books to some extent.
We did.
But he was a foreign policy genius. And the New York Times reported this last week that even the Watergate break-in may have been related to a legitimate concern that Nixon was pursuing. It was the deep state. They were stealing from him, Rob. They were stealing. I think it was a secretary of the Navy, but there was high-level theft going on at the White House when Nixon was away, the deep state was undermining him, and it was part. You know why? Because he dared to set America first foreign policy. Because the bureaucrats that were created when we reformed the civil service, the permanent bureaucracy of they fought back. They fought Nixon and they beat him. They ran the playbook on Nixon. They ran the playbook on Trump that they did on Nixon, but Trump didn't back down. And that's what it's going to have to be. Whether they're calling us a racist, whether they're calling it, whether people call you neocon, warmonger, whatever it may be, we just have to put on the armor of God. Put on the armor of God and say, nothing, no spear shall strike my breast. Every arrow you will land on my shield, and we will advance relentlessly in a phalanx. You, me, Rob Maness, your audience, anybody who wants to, go out with us. Greek hoplite farmers kept their shields above their fireplaces, and they were landowners, and they weren't taxed, and they fought their own defense against invaders. We can do it too.
Now, this policy, this approach doesn't include, because I think you and I think exactly alike on this. It doesn't include giving money to countries that hate America, like what happens today. Even today, that's still happening in our foreign military sales, our foreign aid, and all that. And I'm pretty sure you and I are in agreement on this: is that should be at least minimized, and we can't give stuff and will not give stuff to our enemies that could be used against us, right?
Rob, you're a pro war fighter. You know as well as I do that a lot of that is just don't attack us money, right? A lot of the money that goes to some of these terror groups, or weapons that go to these terror groups, are like, if they're in some ways there's kind of a piracy aspect to it. They're kind of plundering us in a way. Because it's a threat. It's sort of a threat of, if you don't pay us, if we don't pay them to be our friends, then they're guaranteed to be our enemies. Like, do you think that if we treated Saudis ideologically the way that they deserve to be treated, that they would be our allies? No, we pay them to be our friends, right? So I mean, those are those are the kind of foreign policy debates and questions that you can't have with a lot of libertarians, Rob, because I think when you're so blinded by ideology completely, and you instead of looking at real situations and considering what are the trade-offs, like a situation like that, then if you only place ideology first, you say, well, you have to always do this because this is the concept. I think that's where you make a mistake. So without some sort of a flexibility and like a sense of nuance to questions like foreign policy, you need a Henry Kissinger. You need diplomats, and you need people who are able to square circles and, make magic real in some ways.
Yeah. It's like
you need miracles.
It's like Israel. I mean, there is so much swirl going on about our relationship with Israel, but I mean, it's a bulwark against the the craziness and tribalism and death and destruction of the Middle East.
They're the first
As
world.
our friend. I mean, all the rest of them are third world, and it's a first world country, and we are naturally allied. I don't have a problem with being allies with them. Now, do I want to give them stuff? I don't think we need to give them stuff, but we surely should sell them stuff and support them when they're attacked, just like they would support us and have supported us when we were attacked, shouldn't we?
Here's the thing: we have allowed ourselves, especially since the 60s and 70s, to sort of be morally blackmailed about the third world and to how we look at the third world. You know, there's been a million, AIDS concerts in Africa meant to, lobotomize the American people into thinking that these people are victims of circumstances outside of their own understandings or capabilities. And I think I disagree with that now. I think I believe now that we should probably take a supremacist attitude of anything, not about a particular race, but take a supremacy on a culture, a civilization. I'm a cultural supremacist. Yeah, I believe American culture is supreme and superior. And
I agree.
I don't look at the third world and go, well, if it wasn't for the United States, boy, these places would be paradises. No, these cultures, they're problems of their own making. Look at Europe. Talk about the sick man of Europe. All of Europe is the sick man of Europe these days. Mississippi is our poorest state. They make fun of us, Rob. The Europeans call us fat and stupid and poor, fat and stupid and dumb. Who's stupid? The redneckiest of barbecue eating rednecks in Mississippi are all richer than you, idiots.
It's all right. And people are after our public education model that's actually succeeding now down here in Mississippi. So we're getting there. We're getting there. And a lot of new building and a lot of AI stuff and new manufacturing's coming into the state.
I'll take Mississippi over France. I'll take Mississippi over Germany. I'll take Mississippi over Italy. I'll take Mississippi any day, man.
Well, man, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. We will help spread the word. And I'll tell my folks, get over there and sign up for this group and to DM you if they have a question.
Send me a DM. Send me your number. I'll call you on the phone. We'll talk about it directly. Let's get this fire for liberty going, man. I'll spread it from torch to torch. And Rob, thanks for being a sincere patriot. You're a great American.
Absolutely. You too, sir. God bless you. God bless America. Tomorrow's Truth Thursday. We're going to talk with Rick Hill. And, he's a cancer survivor. He's broken the code on cancer, maybe. And this would be a big win for a lot of people. I'll see you then.